Howdy, and welcome to LeeReads, where I talk about the books I've been reading and enjoying lately. And welcome to another more relaxed, semi-vlog style video as I check out a highly anticipated read of mine, A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I saw it at the bookstore when I went last month, and I almost bought it because I really loved the cover, but I resisted purchasing it at that time and got it from the library instead. Then I saw Reagan at Peruse Project do a video recently on cottagecore themed fantasy novels. The stories have a lot to do with nature or cottagey vibes or spirits or the land. I had actually read and enjoyed every book on that list except for this one, so really pushed it up my TBR. And now that I've started it, I'm a couple of chapters in, I can already tell I'm really going to like this one. What is A River Enchanted about? There is a young man named Jack, and he is from a small island that people on the mainland consider to be a little bit backward and wild. He left the island when he was 11 years old to train at the university on the mainland as a bard, and now 10 years later he has been summoned back there by the leader of his clan to help them with a problem. What I've gathered so far from the world building is really interesting. There are these two ancient enemy clans that live on this island called Cadence, one on the east side, one on the west side. And they are each able to commune with the spirits of the land in different ways. And yes, the spirits are very present, very real. Usually no one can see them, but they can feel their effects. Like a child can go wandering off the roads, and the land spirits, for example, will move around the hills and the roads and get them lost. Or the spirits or the folk of the water could capsize ships. So they can bring trouble, or they can bring good things, and they can help people in crafting to craft enchanted objects. So the two different clans on this island have been at war for a long time, and they use the spirits differently, but really the fact that they believe in these spirits and are impacted by these spirits kind of unites them compared to everyone on the mainland who thinks they're all a little bit, who doesn't really believe in these spirits. Anyway, there's a problem on the island. Young girls from Jack's clan have been disappearing, and it's thought that the spirits are doing it because where else would they go? Their enemies wouldn't dare to do something like this. So Jack's arrived, and he's wondering why on earth do you want a bard? Like he's trained on the harp, he sings, he plays the harp, he's a musical teacher. How in the world can he help with this problem? So that's where I am now. I don't want to get into what they've begun to reveal so far because I don't want to spoil, but I really love the world building so far. I like the different characters that we've been introduced to. Jack is our main one, but so far we've already dabbled in two other characters. One is the captain of the guard who's been looking for these missing girls, and the other one is the captain of the guard's wife. But there's a little bit of interesting conflict being set up between Jack and the heir to the clan. So the clan chieftain's daughter, they were kind of childhood frenemies. She fondly refers to him as her old menace. They didn't really like each other as kids. Now they have to work together to figure out why these girls are disappearing and what to do about it. I'm currently in chapter 7, so about a little bit less of a quarter of the way in. Another thing I want to talk about real quick is the writing style. Already, I want to go out and buy my own copy because even though I don't annotate books very often, I don't highlight and I don't tab, which is something I want to maybe start doing. But even though I don't regularly do that, already several times I've wanted to tab and highlight certain passages and phrases just because I thought they were beautiful. So I think I'm going to need to get my own copy to have this book so that I can mark it up and, yeah. So, liking it so far. I'll bring you along with me as I continue to read it. a little midpoint update. I've been reading for a couple hours, about halfway through the story, and I am enraptured. I'm really enjoying it. The plot is really amping up. Actually, at this point we've gotten 4 perspectives, but primarily just the one. But the way they wind together is doing a really good job of introducing us to bits and pieces of the world building and the lore in a way that is supplementing our knowledge as readers, but not making anything too obvious for the characters that are kind of working through what's going on here. And all in all, I'm really enjoying where the story is going so far. I think we're about to hit a turning point in the plot and the story, so we'll see what happens after that. Good morning. It is the next day, and I haven't finished yet, but I'm about at the 75% mark. And I just have to say that the character work in this novel is so good. A huge component of the story is that there is this enmity between our main characters who are from the clan on the east side of this island, this historic blood feud basically with the clan on the west side. And they suspect that perhaps the clan on the west side are involved with stealing these young girls from their side. It's a lot more complicated because of how the spirits interweave with the land. The captain of the guard should be able to feel it every time one of their enemies crosses the clan line, so it doesn't really make sense. The reason the character work is so good is because it really starts to question character motivations. Why are you willing to kill, or do you think peace is impossible? Can we try something different? Can we try to establish trade lines, or is this blood feud too deep? And that sounds really superficial because I'm barely scratching at the emotion here and the history that's here, but the story has really woven that into this narrative very well. And as these characters start to question themselves and question the people that they love, especially when they have different motivations, when they're all coming from a place of wanting to do right by their clan, but they see different ways of how that should happen. It's really good. And honestly, I'm really loving this book so far, primarily because this character work on top of the unique world building aspects. And I really like it so far. So that's my check-in for this morning. I'll come back when I finish it. Last update. So I finished this book last night right before I went to bed, and then I had dreams about it. I hope that there's going to be a sequel because yes, the overarching plot of the story was resolved, but I still have a couple questions, and I feel like where the story was left, there's room for there to be a sequel. However, if there's not, I'm okay with it because things were wrapped up enough. I think if you couldn't tell by how I was talking throughout my previous updates, I liked this one a lot. I really enjoyed it, especially the character work, the different problems that the characters have to deal with, not only the plot problems, but interpersonal. The story really is a lot about your place in a community and how your place might change over time, the loyalties that you have, how it all drives the reasons that you do what you do, and how that can change over time. I just thought it was a very lovely story, especially with how the land itself impacts the plot. It's one of those settings that really does feel like a character itself. The main character of this one is a bard, and I love how the magic of music was also interwoven into the story, and how that identity is woven into that character's feeling of community and how they can serve their clan. It was a fairly plot driven story. Like, there was definitely plot and it was advancing. This wasn't a slow dragging story by any means, but it really centered on the characters and you really kind of got into their head. On top of that, I found the writing to be very beautiful and somewhat poetic, which makes sense because one of our main characters is a bard. So there's a little bit of storytelling within the story, but it's very beautiful. This is definitely one that I have been thinking about a lot since I finished it last night, and that I think I'm going to continue thinking about and kind of gnawing on bits and pieces of it for the next little while. It's one that I think I'll want to reread in the near future. I would like to try it on audiobook because storytelling is a prominent part of this story, and I would like to see how that comes, how impactful that is from an audio version. So all in all, I highly recommend this one. I encourage anyone who enjoys fantasy to pick this one up, especially if you're a character-driven reader. And just like the blurb on the front cover says, lush world building and lyrical prose. It definitely has that. This is one that I'm gonna want to get for my bookshelf because I know I want to reread it and experience this one again in the future. Yeah, I'm really happy that I picked this one up sooner rather than later, and I'd encourage you to do the same. Let me know if you've read it and what you thought about it, and don't forget to support your local library. Thanks.